Call this meeting to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
President Burdine.
Here.
Trustee Guido.
Here.
Trustee Hickey. Here. Trustee McClendon.
Here.
Trustee Reeves.
Here.
Trustee Horky. Here. Trustee Schroeder.
Here.
Manager Yule.
Here. May we all stand for the pledge of allegiance and then have a moment of silence for our president, Herbert Walker Bush. Thank you.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Does the chair have approval of the agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
I support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? The agenda is approved. Approval of the minutes.
I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the November 20th meeting with an amendment, page 2, paragraph 4, regarding the vote for the that I did, in fact, vote yes.
I'll second.
Clerk Massengill, could you read the amendment of the minutes, please?
It was moved by Trustee Horky, supported by Trustee Hickey, to approve the outgoing and county council minutes of November 20, 2018 with the change of item, what's that, I'm sorry, you didn't have paragraph, what did you say?
Page 2, paragraph 4.
Page 2, paragraph 4. Roll call vote. Hickey?
Yes.
Excuse me. Horky?
Yes.
Voted yes. Okay. Okay. Go ahead. You want to do roll call?
So all in favor of the amendment change?
Aye.
All opposed? The agenda has been approved.
This next.
Now we go to the petitions and communications. We have a letter here from Randy Cominick. I see Randy out here. Would you like to come up and read your letter to the podium, please?
For those of you that don't know me, my name is Randy Cominick. I'm a lifelong resident of Dundee. I was a teacher at Dundee schools for 30 years. I'm a longtime volunteer and now the archivist at the Old Mill Museum. I walk the streets of Dundee 2 to 3 times a week for exercise. And I'm documented as being the first person to throw trash in the first trash can in Dundee's history. So I just thought you needed to know that. We're proud to be in Dundee, and we're even proud that with the growth we've stayed a small town. We at the Old Mill Museum are working constantly to preserve the history of Dundee. We have the signs on the brick walls that say Historic Dundee. We have the memorial bandstand, not a gazebo, folks. The abundant Italianate architecture. The banners on the light posts say Historic Dundee. The Old Mill and the museum make downtown unique. The First Impressions team from Michigan State University referred to the historic nature of Dundee 5 or 6 times during their presentation. We were added to the National Register of Historic Places by the National Park Service in 1990. I understand that we want to attract businesses downtown, and we want visitors to come to the center of town. But we're not sticking with the historic nature. First we had neon. That's not historic. Then we had 3-foot-high plywood letters, which were not historic. And now we have the modern red and blue sign, which is not historic. According to an article in 2015 in the Independent, Mima Kabisky, who is the administrator and co-owner of David Arthur Consultants, along with Beth Lipensky of the DDA and Meg Heinlein, researched and created the documentation for the historic designation. The guidelines include colors, materials, and design guidelines that will help building owners and future developers preserve, restore, reconstruct, and rehabilitate the unique 1850s Italianate architecture of the historic buildings in the downtown area. Ms. Kabisky also said in the article that hundreds of choices of colors and bricks, for example, will be available to developers and property owners. Where are the colors and chosen designs? Why isn't this being enforced when a new business comes to town? It costs no more to use a historic color or sign than it does a modern color or design. It also said that formal implementation of the plan required some minor changes to the zoning ordinance, and it was referred to the Village Planning Commission. Did that ever happen? Our former village manager, Pat Birch, made sure that new businesses showcased our history. For example, the car wash and the strip mall where Tim Horton and Social House are located. David Arthur Consultants spent a great deal of time and money restoring their historic building. Selmar Salon spent $1,200 to replace a window because she was told it had to be historic in nature. Please know that I understand we can't force the current businesses to change what they've already done. And Jordan, I gave you that little thing because this was an issue for us long before the bakery came. I've been told that it is the DDA that determines what happens. I've been told that Gary Dahl determines what happens. I've been told that the council determines what happens. I've been told that the zoning ordinance determines what happens. I've been told that Dave Ewell determines what happens. Who is in charge of the historic essence of Dundee? I've heard there's nothing in writing that requires a new business to get approval for new signs, colors, and designs. I understand that old businesses should not be asked to change, but isn't it time to pass an ordinance that would require new businesses to enhance the historic nature of Dundee? Isn't it time to add to the look and feel of the downtown area with signs and colors that strengthen the National Historic District? Wheatfield Mill would be happy to work with people on that if we can find the documentation. I also talked to another person today that says there is a document, that it was given to Gary Dahl, that it was given to Dave Ewell, that it's on a flash drive somewhere, and we haven't been able to find it. So I'm leaving it up to you, and I would like some answers, or at least a movement towards finding out what can be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next will be the presentation by Brent Hanlon, MEDC.
Dave, would you like to get that PowerPoint ready? I'm Nick Lipensky from the engineering department, but what I'm here for is nothing to do with engineering.
Nick,
Yes, sir.
you're out of order, please.
Oh, this is his president.
I'm here to present
He's in charge of this.
Brent Hanlon.
For Brent
He's
Hanlon,
in charge of this for the village.
you are here for a presentation.
I'm here to present Brent Hanlon.
And
He's here to
who's
present.
this gentleman here?
This is Brent, as I'm about to introduce.
Okay. All right.
You'll see a note here that gives you some shortcuts about some abbreviations, so you know what we're talking about. First, like I was saying, I'm Nick Lipensky, the engineering department. I'm here for the RRC, and this is Brett Hanlon, who is the RRC community on the community development team. He's going to give you a presentation, which Dave has on his PowerPoint, and I'll give you a 1-minute summary of how this came to be. Spring of 2017, Dave Ewell, through, I don't know how he heard about it, he heard about this RRC program, which stands for Redevelopment Ready Communities. And it's It's basically an endorsement from the MEDC that says that your municipality knows how to handle developers coming to your area. They want to come to your area, you know what you're doing, MEDC will endorse you and officially say that you know what you're doing. To get engaged in this program, you need training for their best practices. I went to this training, Councilman Mike McClendon went to these trainings, Councilman Danny Polito went to these trainings, and other people from the community also went to these trainings. I filled out a very lengthy application, and I got word that we would be what they call engaged in the program. So as part of the official engagement process, Brett is here to tell you more about how the whole thing works. Brett?
Yeah, thank you, Nick.
You have a clicker, Brett?
I do.
Okay.
Good evening, Council. Thank you very much for having me here tonight. I'm Brett Hanlon. I'm a Redevelopment Ready Communities Planner. I'm joined by Paula Holtz, who is the Community Assistance Team Specialist for Region 9. And you guys, as Dundee is in Region 9, she's your primary point of contact for a variety of incentives and programs through the MEDC. So she's a good person to know. So I have about a 15-minute presentation. I'm going to provide you all with some context, explaining what the RRC is. I'm then going to go over the findings of an evaluation I performed on your development-related practices. And then I'm going to quickly outline some ways you can improve your practices to align with those of the RRC and achieve certification as a redevelopment-ready community. So this is showing how the MEDC is divided. First, we have marketing and communications. You'll see on the right. A lot of you are probably familiar with the Pure Michigan campaign. On the left, we have business development, and they're focused on the large-scale corporate attraction, even from overseas or out of state. They're more concerned with getting the businesses in the state or helping existing businesses expand or relocate. In the middle is where the community assistance team and the redevelopment ready communities team fit in, and community development fits, well, it differs from business development because we're focused on helping communities be the best that they can be, creating a high quality of life, because we know that it's those types of places that are attractive to businesses and talent. And I'll explain that further as we go along. This slide is showing that redevelopment ready communities really is the foundation of a vibrant community. So we work to empower communities to build a solid planning, zoning, and economic development foundation. So we identify ways that communities can improve their long-range plans, ways that they can update their policies and streamline their processes so that they're in the best possible position to attract business and talent. So this is something that us at the MEDC call the Business Talent Place Connection. And you'll see in the navy blue, you'll read talent wants place. If you go clockwise, place needs business, business needs talent. And so it's commonly accepted that economic development departments will work real hard to attract businesses and jobs to the community. But it's not necessarily that easy, that cut and dried anymore. Times are changing. Nowadays, more so than ever, people are looking to start their own business. They're able to work from home, or they're deciding where they want to live first, and then they're looking for jobs second. And so this goes back to what I was saying about community development, working on creating a place where people want to live, work, and recreate, and then using that strategy to attract the businesses and the jobs. So the RRC has 8 guiding principles. The first one I wanted to highlight is it's a self-help program. So we're not going to be able to complete all of these tasks for you, but we do have an abundance of resources that I'm looking to provide you. The report that you have in front of you can be looked at as sort of a work plan going forward, and I'll get into this more, but we have resources, whether they be financial, whether they be me as a resource, whether they be our online library of resources, so I'm going to get into that further, but it's self-help, but we're here every step of the way. I wanted to also highlight, really I want to group 3 of these together, efficient, transparent, and predictable. And I like to, I guess, tell a little hypothetical story about a developer coming into a community and looking basically if your process, your regulations are clear, they come in, they're receiving good customer service, they're feeling confident that they're supported, their investment in the community is going to be supported. And so we're really trying to do that at every level, whether that be information on your website, regulations in your zoning code, and all the way down to customer service and marketing of sites. And then finally, I want to talk about implementation. And so you'll see a theme through a lot of the best practices where it's really geared towards implementation actions, estimated timelines, and responsible parties. All too often there's recommended implementation strategies that they just fall through the cracks because people aren't sure who's taking the lead on it and when. It's not prioritized, so things get put on the back burner that really shouldn't. And so we're big in prioritization and then identifying responsible parties and timeframes. So right now we're working with over 240 communities of all different sizes across the state, 29 of which have fully aligned with the RRC best practices and have become certified. And then the red diamond is showing 128 have had their evaluation completed, which Dundee would fall into that category because of that evaluation in front of you. And then 89 are still in the pipeline waiting to receive their evaluation. So this slide is pretty hard to read, it's pretty confusing. Really all you should know is you're in the second column, you guys are now at the bottom of that. So you've gone through the engagement process, you've been engaged for a while now. Now this is the report out presentation for the evaluation. From here, you can work at your own pace based on your staff time and resources to align with the best practices and then achieve certification. The best practice criteria are broken up into these 6 categories. Number 1 is community plans and public outreach. I like to refer to that as the long-range plans. So we take a look at master plan, a downtown plan, and capital improvements plan. Number 2 is the zoning regulations. So that's taking a look at your code and ensuring there's flexibility and the regulations are how you want them based on what's in your master plan. Number 3 is development review process. We want to ensure that unnecessary obstacles have been removed and that really the process is how you want it and you're not, there's no redundancy that doesn't need to be there. Number 4, recruitment and education, deals with the ongoing training for both staff and officials here in the village. Redevelopment ready sites, I will talk about, but that's asking communities to be proactive in identifying sites and getting the basic information on there in the form of a marketing document. And it's pretty easy to do that, to market sites online nowadays. And so that's what we ask communities to do. And number 6 is really a 2-parter. It's marketing and economic development strategies. So we're not asking for a formal plan. All we're looking for is a summary or an overarching document that's going to talk about your existing and your future initiatives that you have going on in the village. Right now, Dundee is meeting 35% of the best practice criteria and is in the process of achieving an additional 42%. This is a very good score. You all should be proud. It's a testament to, well, a history of great work, but great work on the staff's account, and then also the support they receive from the Planning Commission and Village Council. And I'll go into some of the details here, but really did a great zoning code. It is almost all green, and the one that's yellow, I'll show you in a second. Really the reds arise out of the lack of having those redevelopment sites online and marketed, and then also having a formalized ongoing training program with established goals and then documented attendance of trainings. And really that could be as simple as an Excel spreadsheet and some thought about what you could learn more about. The zoning ordinance was, well, you scored very strongly on this. I wanted to highlight some things that we look at that I really liked. The upper floor dwelling units are permitted in the Central Business District and the Tecumseh Street District. So not only do you allow a mix of uses within the zone, but you allow a mix of uses within a building, which is something that is best practice. You have design standards that ensure a desirable result will occur. So this takes a look at building materials, roof styles, fenestration, building orientation to the street. And then you have very flexible parking standards. You allow for reductions in situations where there is a shared parking agreement and it makes sense. Maybe there's different peak hours when, for instance, if a church is right next to an office building and they just have completely different hours. There's the ability for a developer to reduce the required parking. And then there's also, you allow parking deferrals, which I really like, where you can defer it till a later date if you need it, or if the developer needs it. And then also reductions when public or on-street parking is available. So I wanted to highlight this as, really it's a strength, I think. You have a great master plan, a downtown plan, and this goes back to what I was saying about the implementation matrix, identifying the responsible parties, and the time frames for completion. And so, yeah, I highlighted, you had very strong community engagement through social media too, where there was a designated Facebook page. I was really impressed with that. And then, the master plan establishes goals to preserve the small town feel, increase housing variety. The downtown plan talks about access to the River Raisin, improving mobility, and the importance of downtown civic buildings. And then again, I already mentioned this, but the third bullet point is really talking about the implementation matrix. And that's, in both the master plan and the downtown plan, that's the only reason they're not green. Some opportunities for improvement. Again, I wanted to, well, I did highlight the priority redevelopment sites. And these are examples. This one is property information package from Dearborn, and then the one behind it is from Howell. That's what they came up with for some of their sites, and they posted those online. So those are just examples. And we do ask, all the sites are a little bit different, but we ask that you at least have a vision for what you want to see there. We don't want, a site that could be a lot of different things. We don't want to have that not have a vision, and then a developer comes in and tries to figure out what you can do, and you guys don't know. So for those sites, let's not pick those as priority redevelopment sites. Let's try to get some of those obstacles out of the way first, but the ones that are ready to go, let's proactively market them. So moving forward, I apologize, I know it says city. I tried to Photoshop it out, but it didn't match, So anyway, moving forward, we're going to ask that you pass another resolution of intent to participate to make sure I didn't scare you all off. From there, as I mentioned, you can work at your own pace based on your staff time and resources to align with the best practices and work on some of the things that are not green. I will be working with Nick quarterly, every 3 or 4 months, to just check in, make sure, we'll see what more I can turn green, see if you need any resources, and try to help. And upon completion of all the criteria, Dundee will be certified as the 30 redevelopment ready community. So now I wanted to talk about the value in the program. So it's a free program. I like to highlight the inherent benefit of having an objective third party take a look at all your documents and basically provide you what I think is a valuable document there in front of you that you can look at. It's full of recommendations, and then even, like I mentioned, a tentative work plan about what you guys could prioritize based on the little information that I have about what you guys are currently working on and all of that. In partnership with the MEDC, so I wanted to mention we have the online library of resources. It's a secret link for only our engaged communities, but Nick's had it for a while, and I want to make sure you all are aware of it. I guess a little trick, if you Google it now, it comes right up. So our secret website is not a secret anymore. So I wanted to point in the bottom right, you'll see the eligibility for community development funding consideration. So because Dundee has a traditional downtown, you guys are engaged in the program, you're eligible for a range of incentives through the community development department. And so Paul is really she's the project lady, so if you have a specific project that you want to see turned over, she's definitely the one to talk to about that. And then the RRC is really kind of the bigger picture things. 3 months from tonight, Dundee will be eligible for one-to-one matching funds up to $20,000 for any project that will get you guys closer to certification. So anything that's not green, and you could potentially use some funding for, we would match you guys dollar for dollar up to $20,000. So keep that in mind if there is a specific project that you really can all be in agreement about that you could use some funding. Please let me know, and we'd be happy to work with you further on that. Upon certification, there's a whole new level of benefits. Right now, we're offering communities $25,000 for pre-development service grants. We have a redevelopment services team who's working with communities to help them write RFPs and RFQs and do some design work. So we're always looking for new ideas and trying to figure out how we can best help our communities, but there is another level. It's kind of a carrot at the end of the stick for help, incentivizing communities to become certified. So I'm happy to answer any questions right now, but please take a look at the web page also, the website, because there's a lot of what I've talked about and some other things on there. It's a great website, so I encourage you to all check that out. Here's my contact information. Again, please feel free to contact me, but I'm here to answer any questions you have right now as well.
Thank you for your presentation. Is there any questions from the board? And please address your questions to the chair, please. No question. Thank you very much. I have one question. You mentioned something about grants and stuff. Would our old mill museum fall into that category of the redevelopment of the town?
Yeah, it's a publicly owned site. So right now for certified communities, that's a stipulation of that $25,000 pre-development service money is that they'd be publicly owned. You should have mentioned that, but yeah, that would be perfect for that. So that's another reason to become certified.
Thank you. I guess you may be seated. There's no more questions.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Now we have the citizens' comments on non-agenda items. Durham, please close this podium.
Hello, my name is Durham Ahmadi. I'm the owner of Bricktown, Coney Island. The reason I'm here tonight is due to the fact that a few days ago I received a letter from my insurance company stating that due to the building next door that was torn down, there's been some spackle or left up on the side of the building. And I received a letter from my insurance company that states a qualified masonry contractor should be contacted to evaluate the extent of a masonry wall deterioration and to make repairs as determined necessarily, specifically where the abundant building was demolished. Now, I spoke to Gary Dahl today, And we've kind of, we discussed about getting a surveyor. But if you really think about it, what's the surveyor going to do? He's just going to see if that's my wall. That wall may be mine, but that plaster is not mine. That plaster belonged to the village who purchased the building. When that building was attached to my building, there's about 1 inch of plaster on my brick wall. So when the village demolished that building, they should have took down the spackle or plaster or whatever it is to go with it. Just earlier, a young lady came up here and said we should make the downtown look nice again. It looks like Delray. All I'm asking is let's do it right and get it done, because that's not right. I shouldn't be responsible for a wall that doesn't belong to me. Maybe the wall behind that plaster belongs to me, but that plaster does not belong to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.